Hi and welcome to this new video on the new Automatic Firmware Update feature by Illustra IQ. Upon logging into the Illustra web GUI, navigate to Setup from the web user interface. If there is an update available, you'll be greeted by a web GUI pop-up, which will take you directly to the new firmware upgrade section. You can manually navigate to this section by selecting System and Maintenance. The manual firmware update option has been moved from the Maintenance tab to the new Firmware Upgrade tab. If your camera does not have an internet connection, you'll be greeted by the following screen. Here you have four options: Update Now, Schedule Update, Download URL, and View the Release Notes. In the Firmware Version Status section, you're able to see the current firmware version, the new version, if one is available, and view the release notes by clicking the PDF icon. You can also download a direct link to the new firmware version by clicking the download URL icon. You then have the current connection status and the option to enable a weekly automatic check. In this example, there is a new firmware version available which can be manually started by using the Update Now icon. You also have the option to manually check for updates via the web GUI. If there is a new version available, you'll be greeted by the following pop-up. There is also the option for Automatic Firmware Updates, which deploys the firmware update. This is disabled by default with the option to enable or disable. If this option is enabled, you're then able to configure a specific time of day for the firmware to be updated to avoid as little video loss as possible. The default time is set to 1 AM for the configured time zone. Next, we have the option to configure a scheduled upgrade if a new firmware version is available. Here you can schedule a time and date to avoid as little video loss as possible. Again, the default time is set to 1 AM. Lastly then, we have the manual firmware upgrade option. A manual firmware update will override all other firmware update options, including the scheduled update and weekly auto update check.